So, Nant, it's lovely to see you today. Thank you for taking time out to talk with myself for the key conversations and your upcoming speaking opportunity on October 23rd. How are you?
Very well. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited about the opportunity.
Awesome, and I'm really looking forward to hearing more from you. Today, for those people that are going to be listening to this recording, it's more just an opportunity for them to get to know you, find out a little bit more about your message and what you're going to be talking about without giving away all the juicy details, of course. And yeah, so we're going to get to know you, what you're passionate about, and I've got a few questions to ask you if you are ready to go.
Absolutely. Let's go.
All right, awesome. So one of the first questions I'd like to ask you is what you're passionate about right now.
Right now, the same thing I'm passionate about now is the same thing I've been passionate about for the last 20, 25 years, which is helping people. And every time I've learnt or gone on to be interested in something, it's been because I've had my own experience with that.
Yep.
So, for example, I had a very big car accident. I was very badly injured, 25 years ago.
Okay.
And the rehab people who helped me back to recovery, I thought that was amazing. I want to be able to help people like them. So I went and studied to become a personal trainer, and I wanted to help people.
Okay.
And then when I became chronically unwell, for 3.5 years, I struggled with my health to such a degree I couldn't get my head off the pillow.
Oh, really?
I finally found a naturopath and a nutritionist, and they started me on my healing journey. So then I went and studied to become a naturopath and nutritionist.
Oh, awesome.
So because I wanted to help people to heal in the same way that I've been able to. So everything that I've learnt and that I do is because I've experienced it myself. And that's what I'm passionate about. I think because I have experienced such ill health in my life that I'm so passionate about helping people have health, because I know that's where we belong. I know that's where our natural state, and I know how it feels to not have it.
I can totally agree with you, and I'm resonating with your story straight away, because I myself am someone who's always pursued good health. Back in my very early days, I had atrocious eating habits, and all of my health at that point reflected that. But I learned pretty early on that I had a bit of a bent for healthy eating when I discovered that it was easy for me just to not eat the junk food, and it wasn't a hard decision for me to make. And my health was fabulous after that. But as you say, a couple of years ago, I myself got sick, so I'm hearing what you're saying, and it's not until you don't have your health that you realise just how important your health is.
Absolutely. It's such a cliched phrase, if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, but it's so true.
Oh, yes.
Anyone who's even had a cold and has had to spend days in bed understands that without our health, we have no quality of life. We don't get to go to work. We don't get to have our relationships. We behave in different ways. We become different people.
Absolutely.
And it becomes all about survival and just being able to tolerate a base level. Whereas what we want to do is thrive, because that's our natural state.
Yeah, totally. That is so true. And I can hear the passion that you have, and that's awesome. And it would be really, really amazing to be able to touch people's lives and help them to feel just what life would be like if they were even like 10% healthier. And obviously strive for more than that, but just if they knew just 10% healthier would have them almost wanting more. Does that sound something like that would make sense?
Absolutely. It's the best experience in the world to be able to have a part in someone's journey and to be able to impact someone in a positive way.
Yep.
And to have people say, I didn't realise, but with more energy, it means that I relate to my partner better.
Yes.
And it means that I've got energy to be with my kids after work. And it means that I can be more creative at work, because I've now got the energy and the ability to think more clearly.
Yep.
And I've got energy to come up with ideas, and I'm excited about them, and I've got confidence, and it impacts every part of our life.
Absolutely.
And it's who we are. You know, at the very basis of it, our natural state is of health and happiness and vitality. And unfortunately, we're seeing so much chronic illness in so many different areas that it's almost becoming the norm. I'm hearing people say, oh, everyone over this age gets sick, or everyone over that age gets this. And I think, no, that's not where I want our thinking to go. I want our thinking to be, hey, I feel great.
Yeah.
This is not normal. The norm is to feel amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. And just the simple steps of helping the immune system to process and deal with those things that challenge the health. It's not until we realise that we can, in fact, influence that, even at a basic level, and feel better. You know, it can be as simple as taking a certain food out of the diet. It can be as simple as going for a walk on a daily basis just to get the first of the habits started. So I totally hear you. And just the idea that we need to be in a peak health and happiness state just as a norm would be awesome. Imagine society at functioning like that. That's incredible.
Imagine living in a world where people are not suffering needlessly. Obviously, we're talking about the Western world. But, you know, where people are not suffering with chronic illness in the way that we do, it would be the most incredible world.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm headed. That's the change that needs to be made and I want to make. And you're right, it's the little things that we can build on. And it's the taking ownership and responsibility for our health instead of giving that over to health practitioners. It's
absolutely.
about saying, this is my health and I'm going to co-create it with you. I need your help.
I love that.
It's not me saying, hey, here's my health, it's in your hands, you tell me what to do. That's not what we need to do anymore. It's having health practitioners as godlike creatures is not okay. No one knows your body better than you.
I totally agree with you 100% on that point. I could not agree more. I mean, in fact, I think I've said that myself over the years. So a big green tick to you on that one. I totally agree. So your next question that I wanted to ask you is, what's a common myth about your passion, and what is it that you would like to debunk about that myth?
There are so many myths about my passion. One of the biggest ones, which really, you know, I think I see things on Facebook and it annoys me slightly. It's that everyone, as we discussed a few minutes ago, everyone gets something, and beyond a certain age, we should expect feeling a certain way, or that it's difficult. I think sometimes it's difficult for us to get out of our own way and to be truthful with ourselves. But it's not difficult to be healthy, because that's where our body wants to be. And I really think the myth about, oh, look, everyone gets something and beyond a certain age, you'll always have creaks and aches and pains. That's a big one that I want to displace, because it gives people, it forces people to become a victim. And it forces people to think, there's nothing I can do about this. Beyond a certain age, I've got no chance, I've got no choice, and everyone around me has something too. And I think that we need to be the ones that step up and say, no, I'm not okay with that. That's not how I want to live. I'm going to change that conversation. I'm going to change that narrative, and I'm going to step into my health, because that's my natural state.
Yeah, and I would 100% agree with you. I think what's really sad is that we seem to have stepped into an idea that once you hit about 45 to 55, that's the downhill run from there on. And sadly, when we look around, we have pretty much a lot of examples of people whose body shape changes into an unhealthy type. They obviously have stopped exercising. A little bit comes down to maybe a bit of apathy. They just have stopped caring. And maybe there's a little bit of lack of knowledge that they just don't know. Once you get to a tipping point, it's hard to come back. It's like, I feel like I've got too many things I have to change about my health. How do I come back? Oh, I'll just give up. It's too hard. Besides, everybody gets sick at this age, or everyone puts on weight, or everybody has, as you say, something wrong with them at this age. And it's really sad that we have such a, perhaps not a defeatist mindset, but maybe just the apathy has crept in too much. And yeah, it would be fabulous to see people. I'm 52, and aside from a car accident, as unfortunately I know you've experienced the same sort of experience of having an injury that's just changes your world, aside from that, which really has affected me, I've found one thing that's been a constant for me is not being willing to look in the mirror and see somebody who is old by definition of our society norms. I want to maintain what I classify as my youthful vigour. Now, maybe I'm a bit deluded for myself. Maybe I should be, a little bit. But again, it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be, youthful and healthy and vital. And I strive for that. And it is just sad that there are so many people of the same age group who, for whatever reason, just don't hold their health in the same esteem.
Absolutely. I think you've obviously got high health standards, and that's incredible. And I think that it really does become the norm. If we surround ourselves with people who are constantly unhealthy and constantly saying, that this is normal, look at so-and-so and look at so-and-so, and there's proof everywhere that we can find that illness is the norm, or feeling old and feeling terrible and having no energy is the norm. Sometimes we doubt ourselves and think, oh, okay, is this over here is the norm? What we need to do is make sure that we surround ourselves with like-minded people and a community of people who say, no, the norm is what I say the norm's going to be. The norm is me feeling great. And I'm going to be the one that steps up and shines so that everyone else can shine also. So it's about finding your people.
Yes.
And having that belief that something's, and you would have experienced this, I'm sure, with going through an accident. When you're not feeling well for long enough, eventually you have this feeling of something's not right. I know this is not how I'm meant to be living. I know there's got to be more to life than feeling like this.
Yeah.
And it's about when we get that feeling to actually step up and put our hand out and say, hey, I need help. Or where are my people? Where's my tribe?
Yeah, that is such a good observation too. It's really, I think the whole social proof thing is really important. If we look for social proof that validates how unhealthy we feel and that it's okay to be unhealthy the way we are, because so many of our observed people around us are in that same way, that's social proof that validates it. But if you change perspective and go, well, what about those 80-year-olds that are running marathons, and what about the, exactly. And it's, if those people are out there, why is that not a social norm? How are they different? And maybe they can just serve as a great role model. I mean, we may not want to be an 80-year-old marathon runner, but what's wrong with going swimming once a week, or taking up aerobics, or doing something that demonstrates that you can be somebody who is always looking after your health, because you've only got one body. If it goes wrong, as you mentioned earlier, is how much your life changes when your body isn't doing what you want it to do. And, I've certainly found that. Just the simple thing like not being able to go to the supermarket to do my shopping because I can't push a trolley. It's like, okay, and thankfully they have grocery delivery, or I wouldn't be eating. So it's a little bit bonkers, but it's that whole what we aim for, what we aspire for. Do we want to be healthier when we get older, or do we want to end up in the nursing home because our bodies have just deteriorated? So, and
we need to be feeling amazing every single day. Obviously there's going to be days where we might feel a bit down and might be angry, or might have a cold, or whatever it is. But what we need to be aiming for is feeling great and enjoying our body every single day.
Yeah.
And I hear a lot of people say to me, oh, well, you know, but illness, everyone's got something, you know, they go into that kind of conversation. And our bodies actually haven't changed in thousands of years. Our lifestyles have.
Yes.
So what we need to do is adopt this as more of a lifestyle, but it doesn't need to be difficult. It doesn't need to be 2 hours a day at the gym. It doesn't need to be, you know, it doesn't need to be that. We don't need to miss out on all the yummy food. We don't, you know.
It's a balance, isn't it?
It is, and it's about being able to listen to your body and the signs, signals and symptoms that it's telling you, because what is good for you is not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And what is good for me this week, the diet that I might be on this week, which I don't agree with diets. No diet is a good diet.
Totally, yes.
If I'm on a diet, that diet that I'm on won't suit me next week, because next week I might be traveling, I might be under more stress, I might not be sleeping as well, I might do more exercise or less exercise. It's about learning these life skills to understand what your body wants and needs and when. And once you've got those skills, you can rid yourself of diets. You don't have to think about food constantly all day, every day. You understand how to give your body what it needs so it can heal, because it's designed to heal.
Absolutely. I think the only thing there that made me want to giggle out loud was, can you imagine the gossip magazines having no diets to write about?
Yes, there would be none.
Okay.
If you cut yourself in the garden,
yes,
if you provide a really good environment, dry it and band-aid it and, you know, etc., you can literally watch it heal over the week.
Yeah.
If it has a really bad environment, you keep it mucky and dirty and moist, you'll see an infection. But you can see literally the body shows you that it's designed to heal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. It's the most incredible thing.
Absolutely. If we provide the correct environment, the body will literally operate harmoniously.
It's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. One more question that we had, or actually there's two more, but there's one of the other questions that I wanted to ask you. And what's important to you about social change, and what social cause do you represent or align your message with or feel strongly about? I know we've covered it off. Is there anything that you wanted to take in a particular deeper response?
Look, I really am into so many social causes around the health area. The health industry is a myriad of different things, but I think the big one for me is prevention.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
I'm not aligned with making more pharmaceutical drugs.
No, I'm
aligned with getting to the underlying causes of what's going on and fixing that, finding the solution to that, so that we can live in harmony again. So, you know, whether it be mental health, whether it be behavioural health, whether it be physical health, emotional health, I'm aligned with all of those causes as long as it's prevention, not research for more drugs. Yeah,
I totally hear you on that. And one of the interesting experiences that I've had, when I was injured in this car accident, I knew I was injured physically. I knew that my body wasn't okay. Just recently, I had feedback with regards to some of the insurance claim process. And one person, an orthopaedic specialist that I had to be seen by, and I'm using my words very carefully here, he, in 45 minutes, determined that there's nothing wrong with me, that it's all fibromyalgia, all complex pain syndrome, and it's all in my head. And yet they're very, very quick to suggest that I need to be taking such things as oxycodone and codeine and, but there's nothing wrong with me apparently. So complex pain syndrome is an interesting subject matter that seems to be when they want to blame it on something that they don't understand the body clearly. And the harmonious state, that whole thing about bring the body back to harmony, I know something's still wrong. I don't know how I'm going to deal with it, but it certainly won't be with oxycodone. And I'm just gobsmacked that they would go to that as one of their first lines of defence. So I'm hearing you about the whole pharmaceutical thing.
It's really interesting because, look, all medicine has a place. Let me say that, if I had a car accident or a heart attack, get me to the hospital.
Yep, absolutely.
Most else, please don't take me there.
Mm-hmm.
So, all medicine has a place, but, that's really interesting. And, I could talk for hours on what you just discussed, but it is disappointing because, I had chronic back pain for probably 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
And the doctors just handed out prescriptions to me.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to find my own way through that because I didn't want to be on prescription painkillers for the rest of my life. But that's the only solution they could offer me.
Mm-hmm. Or the only one they actually wanted to, because it's the only one they believe in. And, because, so it's interesting. I personally am always one who would rather find alternative healthy options. And again, I agree with you. Medicine does serve a purpose. There've been a time when I've been prescribed a medication and me being a bit stubborn has gone, no, I'm not taking it. It's a prescription medication. I'll explore other options. Exhausted those options, tried the medication and got, oh my goodness, why didn't I take this in the first place? But again, I at least explored my options and at least gave myself the opportunity to find other ways. Now, as you say, it's not for everybody. Everybody has to deal with their body, and we need to get to know our bodies and be comfortable understanding the messages that they're giving us. Totally agree when you say quite often we see the medical profession as being godlike creatures and, hand our health matters over to them and say it's all in your hands. And it's like, I beg to differ on that. It's for me to know and for you to help.
Absolutely. I did a Facebook post today on, even blood tests.
Mm-hmm.
When people get blood tests or their blood pressure taken, I often say to people, they'll say, oh no, I got my blood test last week, or blood pressure just recently, it was fine. Okay, what was it? I don't know. They said it was fine.
Yeah, they said it was fine.
We don't need to have a science degree, but we need to have a discussion with our health practitioner and say, well, what are the basic results? What was my blood pressure?
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to hear just, you're fine, out you go.
Yep.
We want to hear, well, tell me, can I have a copy?
Absolutely.
We want to be taking responsibility for our health and our body.
Yep.
And along with your experience, chronic pain is something that I found I was more annoying to doctors with long-term chronic pain.
Yep.
It was more like, we don't know what to do with you.
Too
Take
hard.
the tablets.
Yeah, too hard basket.
Yeah. So, but it's so important that people have a conversation with their doctor and not get pushed out the door. Don't get rushed out the door. This is your health.
Mm-hmm.
What is my blood pressure? What was the reading? And then what does it mean if you don't know? That's what they're there for. They're not there to sit in a high chair and say, yep, I deem you fine. You can go. They're there to help us, as you said, and to serve us and to work with us and co-create so that we can have the health that we want.
So agree. And like my mother is 73, not a particularly well-educated lady. So when it comes to medical things, she does in fact put doctors on pedestals and never questions them and never asks them anything, because that's the generation she came from. And of course, me being an ex-nurse, oh no, we don't do that, mother dear. This is not what we do. This is what we do. And I've been quite instrumental in saying, okay, what medications are you on? No, this one's too much for you. Go back to them and tell them your daughter is a nurse and told you this. And look, I know it sounds quite bullheaded to do that, but because of those things, I've been able to get her medication changed. And also importantly, asking her what is her blood pressure reading, getting her to write things down, because she's got a terrible memory. It's like, write it down. Or the other little sneaky trick that I tried recently and has worked, when I spoke to a medical receptionist who was acting as a gatekeeper and wouldn't let me speak to my mother's doctor, even when my mother was in the room with the doctor, and we live in separate towns, I decided, okay, there's two can play this game. So I wrote a permission letter on behalf of my mother, so it sounded like it was coming from my mother, and I signed it, sent it to Mum, she signed it, and I said, take this to your doctor. And what it does is it gives the doctor authority to talk to me in the case that Mum doesn't quite know what questions to ask. It solved all the dramas because Mum doesn't always know, and that means that she's at the mercy of a bad decision. So just by empowering the question asking situation, doctors should feel comfortable talking with family members about a family member's condition, with permissions all granted, of course, because sometimes someone just doesn't know what to ask. And, you know, I don't want my mother being at the mercy of a bad decision because she doesn't know any better, especially when it comes to blood pressure. We know, you and I probably know, it's 120 on 80 is fairly standard. 110 on 70 is not so bad. You get above 120, you're starting to ask for trouble. That's obviously stress on the heart. And, you know, my blood pressure's been up since I've had this car accident, which kind of upsets me a little bit. It's stress. My mother's blood pressure is through the roof a lot of the time, and they don't tell her what it is. They don't tell her what the reading is. And I'll ask, and she said, well, I don't know, exactly as you mentioned as an example. So it's about being informed, being willing to ask for the information and to have the conversations. But it's what conversations you have with the doctor. Not all of them are forthcoming. So,
and you know what, I think it needs to start also at the doctor level.
yes.
You know, I think doctors need to be taught that you're there to converse and communicate with the patient. You're not there to just run a series of tests and, you know, away we go. It's about the doctor offering also, you know, and saying, hey, I'm here to talk to.
Yes.
Do you have any questions?
Yep.
So it's difficult. I understand that it's a system and it's difficult. You know, you get 7 minutes, or at a double appointment, you get 15.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when I have appointments with people, I can't even get past, how's your day?
Yeah,
7 minutes. So I understand that it's difficult for them.
Yep.
But there does need to be a new way of communicating with people and having people understand that, hey, I'm here to work with you.
Mm-hmm.
Ask away, ask questions.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, when I take blood pressure, I'm going to tell you what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you don't want to know, that's okay too, but I'm going to tell you.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's really key. It needs to start at the level of communication where previously we've been reliant on doctors, where now there is definitely a communication shift and a social shift in expecting doctors to be people, not just these people with degrees, but people. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. What great answer. Well, I've got one more question for you. What is the one thing that you do first thing in the morning, or that you need to do first thing in the morning, to help you start your day the right way?
The very first thing I do, I learnt this from my animals many, many years ago, is I wake up properly. If you watch a dog wake up or a cat, they yawn and they check on their body and they stretch and they breathe and they move. So the very first thing I do is scan my body and check and ask my body, you know, how am I feeling today? Anywhere that I need to focus on, I stretch, I move, I breathe deeply, and I wake up slowly. You know, I don't wake up to this alarm, you know, scaring me awake and jump out of bed. It's a horrible way to wake up.
Oh, yeah.
I allow myself to wake up gently, and I'm really nice to my body in the morning. And then I run through how I want the day to go. So I get my mind prepared as well. So it's a ritual of preparation and acknowledgement in the mornings.
What an awesome way to look at that. And anyone that's got any sort of pet, you know, like the furry dog or furry dog cat type thing, will know that literally if you watch an animal, they're just so completely at peace when they sleep. And when they wake up, it's like they snort a bit and they roll a bit and they're a bit stretchy and they're all those things. I've got a cat, I see it all. And it's actually quite relaxing to watch an animal sleep. And then when they wake up, they're just so at peace in themselves. And it's like, what a great observation. I hadn't actually thought that when I was watching my cat sleep and then wake up as he does on my lap more often than not, that he's actually a good representation for how to start the day or even how to wake up nicely.
Wake up, yeah, absolutely. Nature will always give us the answers. you know, my dog wakes up and her hair's everywhere and she's sort of got that morning face on, but she takes the time and she licks her lips and she's looking around and she stretches and she yawns and breathes. And when she's ready, she says, okay, I'm ready to get up. So, you know, and without fail, happens every day. She never gets up and just says, oh, there's the alarm. I've got to get up. So it's really important that we give our body, you know, and it only takes 2 minutes.
I mean, I guess, and I guess there are those of us, you know, depending on who may be listening to this recording, that have to get up at a ridiculous hour, so they do need to rely on the alarm. But even if you've got to be startled awake, which is really unfortunate, and I myself hate having an alarm that sounds like a bell or anything really noisy. It's got to be at least a radio that's some sort of music, so at least it's semi-nice to listen to. But even after that even after that rude awakening is still that time to just lay there and go, oh, okay, now I can just take 2 minutes, just center my breathing, and then do exactly as you say. Just focus within yourself and mentally plan your day in a nice, relaxed, calm state before throwing yourself out there into the chaos that can sometimes be the world.
Absolutely. It's proactive and it's responsive instead of reactive, and literally 2 minutes. And we know that you can do a lot of things in 2 minutes. You know, when the kettle's boiling, you can wash the dishes, you can get them done. There's a lot of things that can happen. You know, when the kettle's boiling, you could do some meditation.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm saying that just because people say, oh no, it's going to take too long. Literally, by the time the kettle has boiled, you could have spent that time waking up your body, moving, yawning, you know. It's literally only a 2 minute job.
Absolutely. And I mean, one of the biggest things that I've noticed, and I've certainly noticed a lot with the people that I've come into contact with recently, not breathing properly. And I've noticed so much so that people, not only do they shallow breathe, they hold their breath, and it's something triggers that, obviously, for whatever reason, and there are 1,000 reasons why it happens, particularly if it's any sort of anxiety or really strong emotion that will cause them to hold their breath. But it's like they do it all day. And it's like, if you don't breathe properly, take those moments. The 2 minutes while the kettle's boiling is a perfect time just to slow the breath down, take those really nice, relaxing, slow breaths and hold them for a little bit, and just take the time to inflate the lungs and feel the belly expand. And just deep breathing is one of the most fabulous things you can do. It really is. And it's a great way to start the day.
Absolutely. It is surprising the amount of people that hold their breath during the day or shallow breathe and never really deep breathe and get that nutrient-rich oxygenated blood through their system. And it's creating a real lack of energy and real fatigue, memory, brain fog. Obviously, it's not the only reason, but it really does make a big difference if we can breathe properly. And, you know, if we start the day with a bit of a ritual that allows us to remind ourselves that breathing we have to do it. It's not like you get a choice. You don't have to have that coffee, but if you don't have the coffee, your day is going to continue. If you don't have that oxygen and breathe, it's not looking good. So there is that need to remember the essential functions of the body and to honour those things. Like, drink plenty of water. I mean, it sounds silly. I drink very diluted green tea. I'll drink an entire pot for the day. Without that, I just feel so drained. And it's amazing when you start the habit, how your body will soon tell you when you stop the habit how much you need that habit. So just little things, little rituals, they're all part of starting the day really well. And what you said just then is so true, that, you know, the rituals and the routines. I find a lot of people are very against rituals and routines because they're either so rigid in their life anyway, or they're, you know, a bit like me and they're a bit more creative and they're a bit, you know, I want to flow and be free. But routines and rituals give us the freedom. So the more I have a routine around the really important big stones in my life, the more freedom I have for the rest of the time to do whatever I want, feeling great. So I think routine and rituals are really, really beneficial for us.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I find that just there's a few things I do every morning, part of my morning ritual, and it's like, it's what helps me to stay clear in my day. And, you know, I start with a word. There's one word I always focus on every single day, and it's the one word that makes me stay focused and concentrating on bringing the word into fruition every day, and it's calm. Just be calm. Because it's easy to not be calm. It's easy to get irate. It's easy to get anxious. It's easy to get frustrated. It's so easy to let those big, strong emotions control us. And all it takes is a few breaths and getting into the routine and the habit of recognizing, stay calm. It'll get resolved. Just stay calm. It's not easy. Coming from me, anyone that knows me knows that is a really big shift in my mindset. But I found the value in it. And again, it's when you experience it, as you've mentioned in the past, in your past, when you've experienced something that's not good, and then you come to the point where it is good, you can't imagine ever going back to that awful state. It's a state. It's a mental state or a physical state, but going back to those negative ones is just so detrimental. And choosing to be in a positive state becomes a habit and becomes one that your body craves and tells you it's what it needs. So, yeah, nothing like a morning ritual.
You said it right there, you know, choosing. It's a choice.
Mm-hmm.
Being healthy and having your best life is a choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a choice that can be a lot easier for a lot of people if they just started learning how to listen to their body and started really treating their body like it was their best friend.
Yes.
You know, we're not our bodies. Whatever anyone wants to believe in, there are, you know, thousands of things to believe in, but we're not our bodies. We need to be best friends with our bodies. So I often say to people, you know, if your best friend turned up and knocked on your door and said, look, I really need you tonight, I need to talk to you, I'm upset, would you hand your best friend a bottle of wine and some chips and say, look, I really don't have time for you right now, and shut the door on them? Or would you bring your best friend in and have a talk to them and say, talk to me, tell me what's up? So, you know, we need to be kind to ourselves, but not in the way that people joke about, you know, and I know it's a joke, but a lot of people often say, oh, I'm having this because I'm being kind to myself. I'm having a chocolate cake because I'm being kind to myself. And I think that's not really being kind to ourselves. That's going the other way around. But
yeah, totally understand that. There's every now and again, it's not so bad. I think it comes down to a little bit of what I loosely use as my 90-10 rule. 90% of the time, take care of every part of who you are. And then 10% of the time, if you have a little bit of an indulgence, a chocolate bar or a glass of wine, or, you know, you just have order in some junk food, but not obviously excessively, but just in that little 10% occasion, recognising the 90, and if you're 90% in your headspace is always very good, but you have, you know, a bit of a rough trot on a 10% amount, the percentage-wise will weigh out so that the good is always there in your life. So for me, it's a 90%. Yeah, 90-10 tends to work for me. I know it's not everybody's way, but I just think if we look at the 90% of our day or 90% of our actions, 90% of our thoughts, and stay in a good space with them, we're able to deal with that 10%, even if it is a chocolate bar and we probably really shouldn't have that tub of ice cream. But, you know, as long as it's in the scheme of things, it's not the constant, it's the occasional treat, and everything else we do is for constant health. You know, as long as we aspire for the right things, our body will tell us.
Absolutely. I think it's so important that, you know, food is not the problem. Food is a symptom of the problem. So if we learn the life skills of how to listen to what your body needs and wants, then go and have the chocolate cake, go and have the wine. Yep. You'll know how to listen to your body with what it needs and wants and when. And that means you can actually really enjoy it. You know, there's nothing worse than having something really nice and having that feeling of guilt and shame after.
Absolutely.
Don't do that. Know how to listen to your body and enjoy the chocolate cake.
Oh, yes.
Your body won't react when your body's living in harmony. You know, when all the systems are working together and all the elements are in harmony, you can have your chocolate cake and enjoy it. You can have your wine and enjoy it. It's not a big deal.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I totally agree. I think everything that you've mentioned makes complete sense, and it's just really important that we recognise the human body in positive, normal state should be healthy. And it's up to us to make sure that we get it to that point. But it's why we have people like you who are there to help us and to teach us. And I'm looking forward to your presentation.
I'm so excited.
I know. So just for those people that will be listening to this, Nant is going to be one of our speakers on October 23rd for the Speakers Initiate's Key Talks Inspiring Change, alongside Joel, who will also be presenting on the night. And if you're thinking about coming along, the link to the event will be posted with this video. And I am looking forward not only to hearing Nant present her message, which is going to be really inspiring, but just to see those people that will be there whose lives are going to touch at the same time.
Can't wait. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And thank you for your time today.
Absolutely. And yeah, likewise to you, and thank you. And it's been lovely talking with you, and we're all done. See you, Nant.
Bye.